let's talk about confidence. You know, very often people will come to me in a therapeutic sense and say to me, I'm just not a confident person. But actually, when I dig down, I realise they're just not confident in a particular area. And maybe they just need to learn some new skills in order to develop confidence in that area. And that's the key thing. You have to realise that when we're talking about confidence, it's usually in context, and we have to nail down and be specific about where we need to improve and what we need to change in order to create a plan. You know, there are many self-help books out there which talk about using affirmations and the power of thought, which there is definitely, you know, some validity in it. However, supposing I'm socially anxious and I am telling myself every day that I'm going to go to the Christmas office party and everything's going to be fantastic and I'm going to be really confident, I'm going to talk to everybody there, and I tell myself this every morning over and over and over again. But then I go to the party and I don't feel that way. I do feel socially anxious and I feel withdrawn. I come away from the party feeling somewhat defeated. What am I going to believe? What I felt or what I was telling myself? So you see the difference. We have to deal with feelings as well as thoughts, and we have to have tools to implement. So if someone was to come along to me and teach me some conversational skills, some skills to deal with any strong emotion, some skills to deal with my thought process, then I could go into that situation, implement those tools and get some real life feedback that things could actually be different. So developing confidence needs more than just affirmations and a thought process. So if this sounds enticing, I've got some more tips for you. So the first thing to remember about confidence, it is a learnable skill. You know, very often people will think they aren't good learners, or they can't learn in the way that they used to. Maybe they're a bit older. But if you think about it, when you were a kid, right, you learn all sorts of complex tasks that you can do really easily now. And there'll be many areas of your life that you can do things more easily because you simply practiced a new skill. But what happens is, as we get older, we start to fear judgment, fear of failure. We start to feel that people will criticise us. So we learn self-doubt. So when I talk about confidence being a learnable skill, I invite you to ponder on the possibility of reclaiming what is rightfully yours before you learn self-doubt. Number two, you got to think about what are the skills you need to learn. If you were to think of one area you want to be more confident in, what would it be? What would you be doing if you were more confident in that area? What would be different? What would you notice? How would you know you had improved? So you see what I'm saying? You need to create a roadmap, and you need to break it down into small steps, and then you need to go off and start to learn the skills. When you're learning those skills, here's tip number 2, I think it is. Could be number 3. I'll leave it to you to count. You have to tolerate some uncertainty, because when we are learning anything, we go through a period of confusion. And that's the danger point, because when you go through a period of confusion, it's kind of like people say, oh, I can't do it, I'm going to give up, or it doesn't matter, I can't do this. But this is where you've got to hold your ground, you know, and you've got to know that this is just a process. Like everything else, if you were into fitness, or you drive a car, or you learn the language, or you did your GCSEs, or you learned to do makeup, or you learn whatever it is, it's a process of learning. And you have to understand you've got to go through that process, and sometimes that involves some confusion. Supposing you've learnt these skills, right, and you've tried them out, and you're keen to go to that party with your new skills and deal with any sort of social anxious feelings. Sometimes what can happen is you have to challenge what I call the negativity bias, because very often in life, you know, we are programmed to have a negativity bias for survival instincts, and it's really an ongoing training to stop ourselves from slipping into that. And also it can be from conditioning from childhood, that maybe we have a thinking style that is not always necessarily very helpful. I call it the 3 Ps, where we make everything personal, like it's all about us, or we make it pervasive, like it's happening in every area of our life. We make it permanent, like it's never going to change. So supposing you go into this party environment and you've learnt these skills and you start trying them out, and then you find yourself thinking, oh, no, this is ridiculous, everyone knows much more than me. What a silly idea. You know, I can't possibly do this. This is where you need to challenge your thinking style. You need to calm that feeling down. I did a video on 7-11 breathing, so that's a great way of calming the body's nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system. That's in another video, so go and check that one out. But this is where you need to really keep some emotional neutrality, some flexible thinking, and question, are the thoughts you're having empowering you? And if not, you need to change into something that's more energizing and uplifting, that's going to pull you forward. Now for your last tip, now I'm not a big one for pretending, but there is some research in this about faking it till you make it. And what that is when you use your body to create an emotional state, it can be very helpful. You know, the way we use our body impacts how we feel, right? Also, you know, how we feel can show on our face, right? So if we were to hold a power pose, like think Superman, Superwoman, or was it Wonder Woman? You hold that pose for 2 minutes, you are actually changing the chemical composition of your body in terms of you're lowering cortisol, you're boosting your feel-good chemicals. And while you're doing that, if you are imagining yourself in the situation you're going into, feeling calm, practicing all those skills you've learned, then you start to associate that future environment and situation with that feeling of being grounded and confident. I hope these tips were helpful. It'd be great to have some feedback so I know what you want and what direction to put these videos in. And I will speak to you again soon.